And let's break down the week that was and perhaps the week that will be with my guest tonight, Maeve Sheehey from Bloomberg Government, up late with me tonight here on the Final Five. Welcome. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, tell me just personally, how has your week been? Is this been one of the more hectic ones you can remember, or does this pale in comparison to others?
It's been a chaotic week here on the Hill for sure. It's been a lot of late nights. It's also just been a lot of uncertainty, people walking around kind of not sure what's going on, even if they've been in Congress for a really long time, which is an interesting position to be in.
Yeah, no doubt, because we've not been at this point. We are without a speaker right now. We have a speaker pro tem in Patrick McHenry. After the gavel came down, after that gavel that Patrick McHenry threw down that the world heard, what has been happening in the meantime?
Well, so immediately after that, but there was definitely a vibe of frustration among the Republican caucus. Only 8 people from the Republican Party voted to unseat Kevin McCarthy, but because the majority is so slim, that was enough. So there was a lot of frustration within the party. And after that, we all kind of were questioning what would happen next. You know, would Speaker McCarthy run to be Speaker again? Was the big question on a lot of people's minds. And later that night, he met with his conference and he told them that he wasn't going to. And so after that kind of opened up the floodgates of who's actually going to run to be Speaker, who wants it, who can get the support in this very unruly conference that we're looking at.
So right now we're looking at Jim Jordan. We're looking at Steve Scalise. The name of Kevin Hern has been thrown around, although he has said that he has not made a decision up on that. So we have these 2 names that are pretty well known. I would imagine the lobbying is underway right now and will continue through the weekend.
Yeah, they're very different candidates, but they're both very conservative. So they both have the support of kind of the hard right Republicans, who Speaker Kevin McCarthy oftentimes was a little bit at odds with, just based on his history in the party. But they are very different people. I mean, Jim Jordan is the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, and you have Steve Scalise, who's the majority leader and who's been in leadership for a really long time. So they come at this from really different angles.
The big story that broke last night was the fact that Donald Trump has endorsed Jim Jordan. There was that push by the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene to perhaps nominate former President Trump to the speakership. I mean, was that ever really seriously considered by anybody outside of the MTGs of the world?
There were a couple of people in Congress who floated it. It was really not seen as a serious suggestion, though. And eventually, former President Donald Trump put his weight behind Jim Jordan, who is a friend of his. But yeah, there were before when people were floating President Trump as Speaker, it really wasn't getting a lot of traction, just based on how unexpected and unprecedented it would be.
Well, I mean, we've been through a lot of firsts, so nothing I think would surprise anybody at this point. As we go into next week, what are we looking toward? Is it Wednesday, the day where we might start seeing votes?
Yeah, so the GOP is meeting on Tuesday, basically, to just kind of hash out their plan. They'll have the candidates present themselves, and there will be a lot of discussion about who they can all rally behind. And then on Wednesday, that is when speaker elections can start. I would throw in a big caveat that we actually don't know that for sure. This is really changing super quickly. And because, as I mentioned, the majority is really, really tight, Republicans are going to need to get themselves together before they go onto the floor and put a candidate out there. So it could be significantly delayed.
And are you hearing any rumblings that maybe we get to the point where we're going to have multiple ballots once again?
There's definitely a possibility. Congressman Garrett Graves actually raised that as a possibility. He said that he could see it taking more than 15 ballots, which is how many Speaker McCarthy took to become Speaker. There's a lot of sentiment in the conference that people don't want that. It is not good optics, and this has been a tough week for Republicans in the House as a whole. So a lot of people would like to keep the chaos to a minimum this week, although we'll see. It can be an unpredictable situation around here.
So just to be clear, we have the Speaker pro tem in Patrick McHenry, and he presided over what was left of that session. Is there any business that can be carried out in the House? I mean, is the House at a standstill until they get a Speaker, or can they get some work done until they get their ducks in a row?
There's a little bit of disagreement with this. The short answer is they can't really do anything except for elect a new Speaker. The House rules are pretty clear that basically the Speaker pro tempore, which is who Patrick McHenry is, they can kind of sign existing bills and joint resolutions, but the real thing they can do is preside over a Speaker election. So that's kind of McHenry's big role. We can see over the next couple of weeks whether he tries to take on other responsibilities, whether that runs into opposition. It's like you said, it's unprecedented, so we don't really know.
There's a lot as we watch all of this unfold, and we will continue to do that. And I know you have a front seat to history. Maeve Sheehey from Bloomberg Government, thanks for joining us. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
And the Final Five is back right after this.
I walk a lonely